Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Dreamgirls. This is a donation reward movie reaction from Venom0027, so thank you once again, Venom. And it is actually our current final movie reaction at the moment. We have no more currently on my list, which means that I guess for the time being we just won't have any movie reactions to go with on a weekly basis unless we get more donations. So yeah, for now this is the last movie donation reaction until we get more. If anyone wishes to donate though for a movie reaction or a series or whatever else, donations are always open. You can donate simply by discussing with me and getting the info to donate on PayPal. Any amount, no matter how small, how big, gets you a donation reward. And again, your reward can be pretty much anything. A movie, a series, something on YouTube, anything you want, really. Most people tend to choose movies, just because they're easier and there's no chance of me dropping them. But in all seriousness, they end up just... It ends up being like the best case scenario, the best reactions, and oftentimes it allows me as well to see a lot of things I wouldn't have normally seen otherwise. And the movies can be from any time period as long as they are available currently. So like if it's just new in theaters, obviously I'm not going to react to that yet. But you could put in like a request for it. You could like donate for that and say like, oh, when this movie comes out to digital, will you react to it? And it's like, yeah, I could do that. But if it's on digital currently or on DVD and Blu-ray or whatever, like you could choose that right now. It doesn't matter what era it's from, what year, who's in it, as long as I haven't seen it. And you can check with me to make sure if I have or have not seen something in the comments at any time or on any of my social media linked in the description below. You can ask there as well, but usually the comments of these videos are easier. Anyways, Dreamgirls. So this is a movie I know very little about, but I do know it has something to do with music or dancing or something. I think Jamie Foxx is in it, but I'm not 100% on that. And I believe it's based on a true story. I know I've heard people talk about this movie, and I believe I've heard mostly positive reactions. I'm not going to say for sure on that because I'm not 100%, but I think they're mostly positive. But, like, I don't know, like, the full story or anything. I don't know, like, what it's actually about or who else might be in it. I know very little about this, I guess mostly just because when it was coming out, this wasn't really the kind of movie I watched for the most part. I don't know. The thing is, as I've grown up, my tastes in movies have obviously changed, but for a lot of the time, the kind of movies I get interested in when I like see trailers or whatnot are usually the same kind of movies, the superhero films or the animated movies or some dramas here and there and whatnot. But there's a certain types of films that I get interested in when I see the trailers and hear about them in the media or whatever. And I feel like a film like this probably isn't that kind of film that I would normally just find initial interest in. But there's been a lot of movies we've reacted to where that's the case. Where it's not a movie I would really have that initial interest in. The Green Mile is a phenomenal example of that, being one of the only two movies I've ever seen that I consider to be perfect. And I truly mean that. right up there with 12 Angry Men from the 50s. It's one of the only films I consider to be perfect. And I would have never watched it. Outside of these donation rewards, I would have never seen it. Because it didn't seem like my kind of movie. A basically prison drama didn't seem like my kind of thing. Like, yeah, it had Tom Hanks in it, and I like Tom Hanks. But that's not enough to sell me on a movie. I don't watch movies just for the actors. I watch it because I'm interested in it. Like, I wasn't excited to see Captain Marvel just because of Brie Larson. I mean, Brie Larson's cool and all, but that's not the reason I wanted to see Captain Marvel. I wanted to see it because of the whole package. And I ended up loving it because of the whole package, not just because of Brie Larson, though she did a great job. And that, so that I wouldn't see a movie just because, you know, Tom Hanks is in it, and I just would have never thought to see that film. But I'm so glad it was requested. And a lot of movies that I've reacted to on here, I would have never watched on my own. Schindler's List is a great example. And I'm glad that people choose them for me to check out. And not every movie is a hit. Some movies I haven't liked as much. It happens. But the fact that I've found so many great movies that I wouldn't have seen otherwise is a testament to how well this works, basically. And so I don't know what I'm going to think of Dreamgirls. I'm hoping, and I'm going into it like I do with every movie, hoping to enjoy it. I want to love it. I want to genuinely love the shit out of this film. That is my goal going into any of these movies. That is my wish going into any of these. So I hope that happens. But again, since I don't really know too much, but from what I do know, I do like music and I do like dancing. There's a lot of cases where, like on America's Got Talent, for example, dance acts can a lot of times tend to be some of my favorites. As can obviously music acts in general. And that's not hard to do. Music acts are oftentimes a lot of people's favorites because there's something simple and just good about them that just really connects with a lot of people. So if this movie really is about like music and dance and stuff like that, yeah, that would probably appeal to me. And I like Jamie Foxx. I do. Again, that's not the only thing I have to take into account with a film. But I mean, if I do like an actor, it does help. If I am correct and he is in this, that will help. I do like him. So that is something. I'm just really hoping that this film impresses me as much as I'm wishing it will, as much as other films have on this. And hopefully we get in more movie reactions sooner rather than later, so we can get to those as things continue, as the weeks continue. Because I actually really love doing these. I really love doing these movie reactions because they're just, again, it's just because I get the chance to see something that's like I could really love, and it feels different doing these compared to recording for a series. You know, it just feels different to record a movie reaction. So that all being said, though, we are going to get this started because this is a 2-hour movie. And we're going to hope for the best. Hopefully I find this very entertaining. Hopefully I enjoy it a lot. And hell, hopefully it becomes a movie that I really love and really enjoyed seeing for the first time this year. So thank you all so much. And thank you once again to Venom0027 for donating. And thank you to everyone who has ever donated for a movie reward. these donations do very much help me out. A lot of times they can very much be like extremely useful for me just continuing on in a lot of ways. I know that may sound ridiculous because I don't, the donations aren't usually like that much. But it does help a lot. Like, for someone who would be considered in kind of the poor bracket like me, it's like it very much helps. And again, I get to see some great movies, so that's always a plus. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna get this started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I was watching the credits, like, you know how a lot of the credits for movies will, like, show clips or images of the actors and, like, say, oh, like, this was this actor, and then it goes to a different clip, different picture, whatever, this is this actor. A lot of movie credits do that. So I was watching this, and it's like, okay, this, and it's showing the cast. Jamie Foxx, Beyonce Knowles, Eddie Murphy. And then it shows the Dreamgirls logo pop out. It's like, wait, those are the 3 you're highlighting? Like, yeah, they were major characters, major actors in this, but those are the 3 you're highlighting? And I'm thinking, like, wait, you're not gonna highlight Jennifer fucking Hudson. This was her acting debut, and she did such a phenomenal job. She was the star of this film, both in terms of, like, you know, actually being the star character, but also, like, owning the movie. Like, this was, let's be honest, this was her movie. But it saved itself at the end after showing all the other major characters. It said, and introducing Jennifer Hudson. It's like, okay, you saved yourself. You were specifically saving her for last to make a big point and a big statement out of her introduction. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So, I looked up things, and I was kind of right. This is based on a true story, but the actual story of this is a work of fiction. This is actually based on the Supremes, who I do know. I actually do know the band The Supremes, but this was the actual story was work of fiction. It was adapted from a 1981 Broadway musical, which I did not know that one at all. But yeah, it takes strong inspiration from the history of the Motown record label and one of its acts, The Supremes. The story follows the history and evolution of American R&B music during the 60s and 70s through the eyes of a Detroit girl group known as the Dreams and their manipulative record executive. So going into this, like I said in my pre-thoughts, pretty much what I knew was that it was music focused. I believe Jamie Foxx was in it. I also didn't say this, but I did know that it like was about female singers or whatnot, like female singers or dancers or whatnot. I wasn't 100% sure if it was singers or dancers or whatnot, but I knew it was like female led. I don't know why I didn't say that, but but the point is, you know, I said in the pre-thoughts I knew very little, and I did. I went into this knowing I guess only the barest basics of what this was. And I think that definitely helped my reception to it. Because going into this not knowing a huge amount and getting to experience it in a more natural way because of that, it allowed me to really, really strongly, like, love it. It was great. And from pretty much every angle. I loved pretty much everything about this. The core message of it being not letting people take advantage of you. Like, that was clearly the core message that I got from this. To know your worth and not let people take advantage of you. To not let people decide what your role and what your life should be. And I want to make it clear, while I absolutely despise the character of Curtis in this, I by no means spread that hate towards Jamie Foxx. In fact, I would say this is probably, from what I've seen him in, probably one of my favorite roles of his. He does such a phenomenal job playing this character. He really sells the scummy, snake-like attitude that evolves over time. He starts off seeming like a pretty good guy who wants to highlight these 3 young Detroit girls for their amazing voices. But over time, you start seeing things pop up. The slimy attitudes, the very much materialistic and fame-focused ideas. And eventually, by a certain point, it just becomes completely undeniable. It's made very clear he's the bad guy. So by the end, when you see our girls, especially notably Effie and Dina, get their revenge by basically telling him, if you try to stop us at all, if you do anything to hinder us any further, you're going to jail. When you see them tell him that and basically giving him a big middle finger and a huge, huge fuck you, it is the most satisfying thing. And there's certain points in the movie where these characters, where the movie, and I think this is a smart idea, tries to almost make you think that Curtis has a point. And what I mean by this is there are certain points in the movie, like let's specifically say in reference to Effie. There's certain points in the movie where it tries to make you think maybe Curtis might have a point, and maybe Effie is being a little bit selfish and a little bit too, not controlling, but egotistical and wanting to be just the star without having to do any of the work. And like, there's especially a point like where Danny Glover's character even tells her this, and it makes you start to wonder, makes you start to think, but that's the point. It's supposed to be doing that. It's supposed to be manipulating you in the way that he's manipulating her and everyone else. The goal of this is for you to see past that. For you to break through the manipulation and see that the truth of the matter is Effie understands her worth. She knows who she is. She knows what she deserves. And she's not going to let anybody stop her. That's the point. And you see how deep that manipulation went. With her friends. With her brother. With everyone. And you see how it affected all of them. To the point where it was so... Curtis was so controlling, so manipulative, that after a certain point, all of these girls, and Jimmy as well, their careers were so, like, completely, like, how do I put it? Reliant. That's a good word. They were so reliant on Curtis. And that's what he wanted. He wanted to make it so that without him, they would be nothing. And that's what we saw at first happen with Effie. She became nothing after he dropped her. That's what we see happen with Jimmy. And different characters handle it different ways. Effie continues to fight for what she knows is right. She continues to fight for her self-worth. And it takes a while, but she gets there. And God fucking damn it, it's glorious. Um, but Jimmy unfortunately can't handle it. Like, he's already become so disillusioned with the music he had begun to make that when he dares be himself, that when he dares live true to his soul and gets fired for it, it breaks him. And this is the manipulative control that Curtis had on him. It breaks him so bad that this guy who had already broken down enough to be reliant on not only Curtis but drugs to get by, he overdoses. He can't take it anymore. He commits suicide. And that part shocked me. Like, when that happened, like, that genuinely shocked me. And as someone who has attempted suicide, it hurt to see him driven to that. And it really, really made me hate Curtis that much more. And again, Jamie Foxx did a phenomenal job. The writers did a phenomenal job at that. I'm not, again, blaming Jamie Foxx. I know how to separate the actor from the character. I would never blame the actor. I would never take out my anger for the character on the actor. But it's like, as this movie goes along, Curtis becomes worse and worse. Like, the part that, like, is just, like, really, like, shows you how far he's come and how far he's changed is, like, when he's talking to Dina and he reveals he knows about the secret pool meeting and everything. And everything he says to her at that point is can basically be summed down to, I own you. You are my property, and you are nothing without me. That is a summed down version of what he says. And it's at that point that Dina realizes that she was manipulated. She was being controlled by this asshat. And again, so, like, when you see them fight back against him, it's so satisfying. And when you see them bring out Effie on the final performance, something that clearly Curtis was not expecting, you could tell by his reaction, that was extremely satisfying. And when he realized that Magic is his daughter, when that clicked in his head, and he realized just kind of everything at that moment, it is so satisfying to see him just humbled. Let's put it that way. This movie is, first and foremost, a girl power movie. It is. It just dramatically is. The movie touches on a lot of how this man is manipulating and controlling these women, tying their self-worth to his own, and making it so that without him, they're nothing. That is a major factor of this film. That's undeniable. And unfortunately, this is a real thing that has happened a lot in the world. Not just in the music industry, but in general. And it's so fucked up. It's extremely fucked up that this is real. But it is. And so you have to kind of look at it this way. Does the movie handle this well? Does it showcase these women as women you want to cheer for, you want to just completely side with in this situation? Does it show this man as truly bad, and as someone who's not just being turned into the bad guy for the sake of sending some kind of message, but who's actually, the things he's doing are undeniably bad? And the answer to both of those are yes. Undeniably, Curtis is the villain of this. He is the bad guy. The things he is doing, he's doing are undeniably bad, morally evil. And without question, these girls are on the right side. They fight for their self-worth, their rights, and their ability to sell themselves on what they know is right. You completely side with them because they are in the right. And that's why when Effie is pushed out of the group, when you see the others turning against her as well, you understand that it's not their fault, that they are being manipulated into that it's Curtis doing this. When you see along the way the girls just completely lost in this, while Effie is facing these hard times and everything, you understand who's at fault here. It makes it clear. It's not just trying to force a message here. It's giving us an example of things that happen in real life and telling us that this not only happens, but there is a clear-cut right and wrong. A lot of people will try to oftentimes say that we need to stop seeing things in such black and white terms, that that there's a lot of gray area to people and how they act, how they react, how they handle situations. And that's not always the case. People who say that are usually just trying to play both sides of the fence and are trying to not cause controversy by picking a side. And whether they themselves are manipulated into doing that through the way they're taught and the way they're brought up and the way they see things, through how others have seen things, doesn't matter here, because the point is they are advocating for a both sides mentality that in this situation is not applicable. There is an active right versus wrong. There are certain situations where that is applicable. And this movie doesn't touch on it too much, but it also does briefly touch on racism. And again, that's another thing in this regard, that you can't say there's no two sides to it. There's no gray area. Racism is wrong. Anyone who sides with racist ideologies or spreads racist ideologies, anything regarding racism is bad. There is no getting around that. So it's this movie tries to tell you, it's some things are just that simple. Not everything has a gray area. But it's also telling you that there is some things that are gray. Again, referring to the girls turning on Effie as well because of being manipulated to. What they were doing was clearly wrong. But the gray area comes in when it's not their fault, because they were basically being forced into that ideology by Curtis. It's a very complex movie that touches on a lot of different mannerisms and ideologies and things of that nature in very realistic ways. That's what I'm trying to get across here. The music in this was obviously phenomenal. I don't think you could deny that. The music in this was phenomenal. It was really, really damn amazing from everyone involved. I did not know Eddie Murphy could sing. Everyone did their own singing in this, and I did not know Eddie Murphy could sing. I knew Jamie Foxx could sing, but he doesn't really do much of that in this. But Eddie Murphy can sing, apparently, and he's really damn good. And of course, you have big powerhouses like Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson. And this was Jennifer Hudson's first acting role, but she was known before this. I believe she got her start on American Idol, actually. But obviously Beyonce had been known well before this, and both of them really got to shine in this, especially Jennifer Hudson. Like I said, this was definitely her movie. She was the one it was focused the most on as the main character, but she shined the most as well. Jennifer Hudson's singing voice has always been drop dead gorgeous. She has always been drop dead gorgeous, and getting to see them acknowledge that in this from both angles is great. And that's another thing I do want to touch on because it's something that's kind of personal to me, the entire weight thing. As part of Curtis's manipulation, it's very clear that one of the reasons why he took Effie off of the lead and put Dina in her place is because of Effie's appearance, because Effie was a larger woman. She is larger and didn't quite fit the mold that Curtis wanted to promote because she was fat. And as someone who is fat myself and has dealt with a lot of fat phobic bullshit throughout my life, it's just not a question that the instant that is brought up and everything, it's like I just instantly just side with Effie, of course. And it's like anyone, whether they experience this or not themselves, should. Like, fat phobia is never okay. Judging someone and mistreating someone because of their size and appearance is fucked up. No matter how you look at it, it is absolutely fucked up. And so even without my personal connection to it, it's just right to speak out against that. And yeah, I think, again, it may, as I said in the reaction, it may be a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but I honestly think Jennifer Hudson's always been better looking than Beyonce. And again, it's not to say Beyonce is not attractive. She is. She very much is. Have you seen her in Austin Powers Goldmember? Like, God, she's attractive. I don't know why that's specifically the specific reference I point for her attractiveness, but if you honestly see that movie or have seen that movie, you'll understand. Let's be honest. You'll get it. They do not hide her sexiness in that. But they also don't hide her badassness in that. Like, she plays a very badass character who is a very strong female character. So kudos to that as well. But I've always found Jennifer Hudson to be extremely attractive. And there's a lot of larger women, both in fiction and in just real life in general, that I have found extremely attractive, and sometimes more attractive than thinner women. And it's nothing against anyone. It's just personal tastes, obviously. But to try and say that someone isn't attractive because they're large, that's extremely fucked up. And fuck that, it's untrue. A lot of large women can be absolutely stunningly beautiful. A lot of large men can be absolutely stunningly handsome. A lot of large NBs can be absolutely stunning. No matter who you are, no matter your gender, your race, anything, any factors like that, you can still be stunning if you are larger. If you are physically plus size, you can still be stunning, and you own that. And I will always be behind you for that. I will always support you. I support the likes of Lizzo and Jennifer Hudson and anyone else out there who is plus size. And if they wish to lose weight for their own reasons, for their own desires, I support that. But I don't think they should be forced into the idea of such. And I don't think they should be forced to feel that they're not worth anything unless they do. If they want to lose it for their own reasons, great. But it should be for their own reasons. It shouldn't be because of how others view them. I'm sorry if I spent a lot of time on that, really going into that, but again, it's a personal thing. It's something I faced almost my entire life, and I still face to this day. It's probably something I always will. And it's because of that, it's something I have to fight against for other people too. And again, even without me being personally connected, I think it's just right to do so. From a moral and ethical perspective. Now, I also wanted to look up what people thought of this. Obviously, I'll check out reviews or whatnot. But apparently, the film was a commercial success and received 8 award nominations, including Best Supporting Actress for Jennifer Hudson, which makes no fucking sense to me, mind you, because Jennifer Hudson was not supporting actress. She was the star of this movie. And I'm looking at the theatrical release poster, and it pisses me off because it lists Jamie Foxx, Beyonce Knowles, and Eddie Murphy probably because they were more well known. Yet in terms of the actual content of this film, Jennifer Hudson was the main star. Effie was the main character. 100%. But it's let's be honest, it's because she wasn't as well known. It's because this was her first acting role. So because of that, she just didn't get that kind of billing. She was seen as a supporting actress, and it's dumb. It honestly is extremely dumb. But anyways, so I'm looking at the critical response here, because I feel like that's more important than like what Rotten Tomatoes says, or than what other things like to say regarding how this went down. So I'm looking at the critical response. And first off, to speak on Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it a 79 based on 206 reviews at the time this was written, at least, with an average rating of 7.3 out of 10. And the consensus stating that Dreamgirls' simple characters and plot hardly detract from the movie's real feats, the electrifying performances and the dazzling music numbers. And I just want to say this, I wanted to bring this up because of how fucking stupid it is. The characters in this were not simple. And basically they're saying as well that the plot is also simple, but also like a possible detractor. They're saying it hardly detracts from the real feats, but they are saying that the characters and plot aren't the real feats of this film. They're saying that the real feats are the performances and music numbers, and that's fucking stupid. The performances and music numbers were great, but the story and the plots and the characters were the highlight of this film. 100%. And that just irritates me. But let's talk about like actual like other like reviewers and critics, what they thought. Rolling Stone's Peter Travers gave the film 3.5 out of 4 stars, so almost a perfect score, and the number 2 position of his best of 2006 list, stating that despite transitional bumps, Condon does Dreamgirls proud. I don't know what transitional bumps he's referring to, but yeah. Because I've only seen like a very brief snippet here. I'm not seeing like the entire review. David Rooney of Variety reported that the film featured tremendously exciting musical sequence, and that after the Phantom of the Opera, Rent, and the producers botched the transfer from stage to screen, Dreamgirls gets it right. I don't know about Phantom of the Opera and the producers, but Rent definitely did not botch anything there. I would say this was probably better than Rent overall, but still. On Ebert and Roper, Richard Roper and guest critic Aisha Tyler, uh, yeah, Aisha Tyler has become a much bigger name at this point. I don't know how big she was in 2006. Um, but she was filling in for Roger Ebert because he was recovering from cancer surgery at the time. But they gave the film 2 thumbs up, which obviously very good. With Roper's reservations that it was a little short on heart and soul, heavily disagree. That was its highlight. Fuck that. And deeply conventional. I don't understand exactly what he means by that, but again, I'm not seeing the actual review or anything, so. Roper still enjoyed the film, noting that Jennifer Hudson's rendition of "And I Am Telling You I'm Not Going" as the show-stopping moment of the film of any film of 2006, and very much enjoyed Murphy's performance as well, remarking that people are going to love this film. Kirk Honeycutt of The Hollywood Reporter was less enthusiastic, stating that while the film was a damn good commercial movie, it is not the film that will revive the musical or win over the world. Clearly someone who is very critical on musicals. And according to this, many reviews, regardless of their overall opinion on the film, cited Hudson and Murphy's performances as standout, with Travers proclaiming Murphy's performance of Jimmy's rap as his finest screen moment. Oprah saw the film during a press screening and telephoned Hudson on the Oprah episode airing the next day, praising her performance as a transcendent performance. And so on and so forth. Basically, a lot of the consensus is that most people seem to like it. Most people seem to love it, even. But everybody, I feel, missed the point, it seems. Most people are like saying, oh, the acting performances or the musical moments, like, or whatnot, that was the highlight of the show. And it's like, acting performances, okay, sure, I'll give you that. But a lot of people seem to be like saying, like, oh, the story and the characters were like flat or simple or conventional. It's like, what are you watching to think that? Because it's like, that's not, I feel like that's not true. Especially the simplistic part. Like, trying to call anything in this simple is just not true. There's a lot of depth to the characters in this movie and to the story. But either way, it's very clear that I really loved this. It's very clear that I have a lot of strong feelings regarding this film now. So I very much thank you, Venom0027, for donating for this. It was clearly a really good film in my opinion, and clearly something that I'm glad to have seen. And like I said in the pre-thoughts, this is something, like, there's a lot of movies that I've reacted to through these donation rewards that I would have never seen otherwise. I would have never seen this. I would have never seen this movie. Because just kind of right off the bat, it just didn't seem like my kind of movie. Like I said, I was never huge into Motown music growing up. It was never my kind of music. Even though I'm from Detroit, like, the kind of music I always grew up with, partly due to the influences of my parents, but also just how my tastes developed, has mostly been stuff like classic rock. My favorite band is Queen. My second favorite band is the Beatles, and Beatles are more pop rock, or a lot of times just pop, but still. Those kind of more classic rock or pop rock bands and stuff, like, that's more my thing. And even like with modern stuff, I tend to gravitate more towards rock music. Some of my favorite music is alternative rock or even pop punk. I love a lot of Motown. I love a lot of R&B. I love a lot from every genre of music, really. But there's certain genres I just never listen to a lot, and because of that, I probably would have never seen this. It never seemed like my kind of thing. That's why I hadn't seen it until now. So I'm very happy I finally got to. Because of not only just the music in it, but the messages, the themes, the characters, the story itself. I'm glad I got to see it because of that stuff. The music is great, but the other stuff really makes this film. And so that's what's important to me here. Clearly, based on the fact that I've been talking for over 30 minutes now in these afterthoughts, mostly just about how important some of the stuff is and how much I loved it and all. But like I said in the pre-thoughts, yeah, I don't have any more movies on the list right now, so if anyone can and wants to, I want to make that clear because it is completely optional. But if anyone can and wishes to, donations are open. If you want to donate for me to react to a movie of your choice, as long as I haven't seen it, any donation, no matter how big or small, definitely helps. And no matter what, any donation gets you a reward. Again, you can choose anything, not just a movie. You can choose a YouTube video or a series on YouTube or a televised or streamed series as well. Or you can choose a movie, whatever you want, really. Obviously, we have a slot on the channel for donation reward series. Obviously, we have movies every week when we, have them. But like I said, right now we don't have any more. So once we get more movies, obviously, we will continue to react to them. And again, if you can't donate, that's perfectly fine. It's completely optional. If you don't want to donate, completely fine. You don't have to. Nothing on the channel will ever be restricted. Everyone will always be able to see everything I post no matter what. Nothing will ever be behind a paywall. You will always get to see all of my content for free. Donation rewards are just a way for people to have more of a input into things, and especially for movie reactions. And it allows me to see things that I would have never seen otherwise. It's a situation that works out for everyone. Because you guys get to see how I would react to certain movies that I never saw for one reason or another. And again, it can be even a current movie that I just haven't seen. And you can choose anything. And it helps me out for sure as well. So, yeah. But again, completely optional. We still have plenty of stuff. And we even have poll series every Sunday, where we react to a series at a time that is chosen by you via poll. This is another way to get involved if you can't or don't want to donate. We do one poll series at a time. Currently, we are doing Tiger and Bunny. But once we either take a break on that to avoid burnout, or when we finish it, we will, or at least finish the season, we will continue on to another poll series. The polls are always in the community tab on the channel. So you'll always be able to vote very easily. And I always post a video telling you when they're up. So yeah, there will always be options for you guys to get involved on the channel and have your input heard as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. And tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Dreamgirls? Did you love it as much as I did? Let me know. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.